Today, let's talk about the Marvels. Hello, and welcome back to the Geek Ball channel. My name is Jim.
I'm Owen.
Bob.
And, we just went to go see the Marvels, as we promised. And honestly, kind of first impressions was, I think it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
For those of you watching this down the road, we're recording this November 18th, 2023. So the movie actually came out last weekend for us. So just throwing that out there.
So it's been out for about 8 days.
Yeah.
But no, I think, and we've made comments on this on the podcast that, our first thoughts were it's going to be, woman movie. And, and that would have been kind of the like what they would have based it all around. But honestly, I don't think they kind of did that. I don't think it felt like it was a, trying to go for the whole girl power thing or anything like that. I think, there were some general like attempts of emotion and how people actually would act in certain situations. And
yeah, I mean, one of my biggest criticisms of Captain Marvel, and yes, I'm one of those guys, is like, she should have shown some emotion at some points in the movie that she's not a robot. And they definitely rectified that here. She definitely shows emotion, as does everyone else. But everyone else already did. But yeah, so Carol Danvers is definitely has ended the cold, emotionless robot phase and actually cracked a smile a few times, and there was laughing and crying, and it was all there.
Yeah, and in places where it should be, and people acted like they should act. Though, since I had not watched Miss Marvel yet, I don't know that I guess her family's just okay with the fact that their daughter's a superhero.
Yeah. Okay, so having watched Miss Marvel, I can kind of answer that question. Yes, they are. She hid it from them initially because they were like, they didn't even want her to go to the Avengers Con thing. And so she thought, well, there's no way they'll trust me with this. And initially they were like, what are you doing? You can't go out there and be your hero. But then they're kind of like, well, you've got these powers, like you have a responsibility to help people. And, So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because they, for the most part, took it pretty sensible that there were Kree in their living room.
Yeah, well, I mean, you only got like 3 choices there, Try to handle the situation, sit down and cry, or run. So
like all situations in life?
Yes, like pretty much any surprise situation in life, yes. So yeah, I will say, having also seen Secret Invasion, I have some real questions of things that happen in this movie.
Oh, let me guess, involving the Skrulls?
Yeah. So, you guys didn't see all of Secret Invasion yet, right?
No.
Only like the first 2 episodes.
Okay, but you know that like there's a lot of Skrulls on Earth, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you see the show, their big gripe is, oh, you never found us another planet.
You mean like
the planet full of Skrulls that's in this movie?
Yeah, no.
So I don't know how to reconcile those two things. Maybe it's 2 different factions that don't get along or something. Maybe this is post Secret Invasion and they did find them a planet. They had it for 5 minutes before the Kree showed up. I don't know, but it doesn't make any sense.
But it did at least make sense that they're like, Captain Marvel pretty much just brought doom to us.
Yes, but in fairness, it wasn't her fault. Like, that was Dar-Ben just being, dar-dumb.
Well, and not only that, but I was not expecting to see the plot of Spaceballs in a MCU movie.
Well, I was, because I read the reviews, but yeah, that was pretty much the plot to Spaceballs. And a little bit of Transformers: Dark Side of the Moon there.
I've watched one of those 2 movies.
Which one?
Spaceballs.
You saw the better one then.
I figured.
In Dark Side of the Moon, there's I think it's a Decepticon ship on the dark side of the moon, and one of the pyramids is in fact some giant Cybertronian machine that's going to suck all the juice out of the sun. So, yeah. So, yeah, you had that plot, and like Jim said, the Spaceballs plot. So,
and did you explain to Owen and sorry I had to step away trying to explain to my son that we're recording here. My youngest, not this one.
Yeah.
Owen, we're recording.
Surprise.
Couldn't tell.
But did you explain the Spaceball plot, which was pretty much
He's seen Spaceballs.
I've seen the movie.
So you know that we're talking about the giant vacuum cleaner who
Yeah.
sucked the air out from the planet Druidia. Which again, I don't know how opening a portal into two planets, it should cause it to equalize, not.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know how it'd suck the water out
because that's
without like eventually sucking everything else out too. You know,
Because all they're doing is they're opening a portal between 2 points. So to the point, like say if there was no atmosphere on
Holla.
then yes, but what would happen is that at one point the vacuum would create an equalization in pressure between the two places.
Right, unless the portals were specifically forceful in one way.
Yeah, and not explained.
And that could be because remember they were like artificial portals, so they could have that feature.
I mean,
By the way, folks, spoilers ahead and behind and all over. So the movie's been out for a week. You had your chance.
Yeah, and well, I mean, we should have said the spoiler thing, but no. So some of the writing, like I said, I don't think they thought things through because the one is I get the space jumps, but I didn't realize it was that instantaneous. Because if it was, like, why would anything be a problem anywhere?
Well, because you can only jump so far or something. Because remember in Guardians 2, it took them a very long time to get from where they were to
where Ego was.
To Ego.
Yeah.
To get an Ego.
And it was like some absurd number of jumps. And, they became like essentially cartoons at some point. But, no, I will say, one thing I really appreciated was actually seeing the Supreme Intelligence like he's supposed to appear, albeit briefly.
Yes, and
they just kind of sidelined that entire thing.
Yes, and he wasn't on the tricycle either.
Well, I mean, I don't even think we've introduced Rick Jones to the MCU yet, and Kang's fate is uncertain as of now. So, but no, I do feel like there was some. This kind of feels like Ahsoka, where there's very plot critical things happened outside of the movie, and now we're just now hearing about them. Like, I would think Captain Marvel going and destroying the Supreme Intelligence and causing a Kree civil war, apparently like 30 years ago, would have been news.
Because that would be like just after the Captain Marvel movie.
Right. Like, so does that mean that like Ronan was the leader of a faction in Guardians, and like the guy that the Nova Corps called, that was all like, well, it's your problem now. Well, who was that? Like, I kind of got the impression he was the ruler.
Yeah,
and it didn't seem like he was ruling over an ash heap. Like,
my question is that were the Kree just useless after the Supreme Intelligence? Like, oh well, our sun's gone, now our oceans are gone, or
yeah, the Kree with the giant spacefaring fleet just all of a sudden is like, yeah, nope, sorry.
And I get Hala's an important place, but couldn't they just moved?
Yeah.
And let's say that they move, then they can, Hala can still be a sacred place. They can make pilgrimages. They can still do all that stuff. They can still be there. It doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense on,
yeah,
somebody.
Hala could have easily moved because for there to be a Kree empire, there have to be other Kree planets.
Well, they said at one point they owned like 25% of the universe.
Yeah, so there has to be like at least a Hala 2.0 out there somewhere, And on top of that, they could probably have just rebuilt the Supreme Intelligence. Like, they built it once, they can build it again. So, yeah, so on that front, there's a lot there that I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, they're just taking all the cool stuff about Marvel space and just being like, nah, it all sucks. Skrulls as villains? What the hell are you talking about? The Kree is a threat? Nah. So now I'm not really so sure I want to see them bring the Shi'ar in with the X-Men. Because it'd be like, well, they were awesome, like, before this movie started, but you're not going to see any of that, so,
No, this is after they destroyed the Imkron crystal.
Yeah.
Like, what's that? Oh, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll find out Decan actually won or something. It's like, well, that's awesome. But, yeah, I mean, those are like comic to movie comparisons, and also like I'm sticking with my. You would think the Kree Civil War is something we would have heard about elsewhere, but those things aside, I thought the movie was entertaining for the most part.
Yeah, I don't think there's
Is worth watching. You know.
Yeah, no, the musical number again. I get it. There is many cultures out there. I mean, this would be like an episode of Star Trek. There's always going to be some culture that's going to do something weird. The only thing, okay, they didn't mention it, but I was thinking when they put in the communicators, I'm assuming that's how they were able to understand anybody because people don't go around speaking English.
Presumably, because I know there's one comic after Civil War. I want to say where the Guardians show up to Earth and they're talking to Tony Stark, and I think it's how it went because I believe Star Lord's there talking. It takes him a minute. He's like, "Oh right, English." Been a long time since I spoke that because he's been off in space forever. You know,
Yeah.
he's used to speaking Kree or whatever. So yeah, I think in the comics there's either translators or there is a universal basic language that's not English. You know, it's one of those two kind of things.
And so I'm assuming that they had to put the translator in. So even the comment made, "Oh, if you don't sing, they're not going to be able to understand you." It doesn't make any sense because singing is just speaking.
I mean, to them, they just might not have the capacity to understand it somehow. Like, it's just one of those weird things.
Though I did like
don't
the
know.
comment though. They're like, "Oh, he can speak normal too. He's bilingual." It's just him not singing.
I must have missed that. Like I told Owen, once I saw the dance number coming, I was like, "This is a good time to go to refill on my drink. I'll be back."
Yeah, I mean, it was funny, but I just didn't enjoy
I want to
it.
know what happened to all those people. I'm assuming they're all dead now.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, if all their water's gone,
Yeah, I mean, maybe they had a lot to begin with, though. So,
Yeah.
because presumably once they smashed the one gateway, that presumably shut the others. Because like the one on around Earth's sun stopped.
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Hopefully.
well, it did. You can see the stream stop.
Well, that and they went to a planet that was 90. What they said 96.
99 point something percent.
99.63% water.
So they come back to Hala and it's just an ocean planet now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a lot more water than you probably need.
Yeah, but I did notice that they did do the usual. We're not actually going to research anything to do with space to get these things right. You saw the shot from Earth where the light started to dim. Like, no, they hadn't withdrawn anything anywhere near enough to even do that. Plus, it would take 8 minutes for that effect to reach Earth.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know, that's how long it takes light to reach from the sun to the Earth. So
There was a lot of that. A lot of things that just like they try to do like the Star Trek techno babble, but I didn't realize Monica Rambeau just knew everything about. I mean, I get that she can see light spectrums, and like I get she can be like, I can see this, I can manipulate it, but that also gives her all of that technical knowledge that I don't think she ever mentioned in WandaVision at all.
yeah, I don't know. She's been working for essentially Shield all this time, so maybe.
So is Saber just
Yeah, Saber's just part of Shield. It's
Shield
Where's
1.5.
yeah. They're in the as far as I know in the comics, there's no saber. There's sword.
Yeah, I was gonna say why they didn't go with sword.
I don't know.
We have to be cool and different.
I guess.
I did like the one bit where the guy was talking about his retirement. They're like, "How old are you?" He's like 300 and
5.
Yeah. So now I've got questions. Like, were those Asgardians or what? Because in the show, the station was manned by Skrulls. So maybe they are all Skrulls, but if they are, why are they in human form? Because like, there's no need to be. So
well, the one thing, and we talked about this kind of briefly while you were away, is that I don't see where this movie needed that big of a budget, and that's not a bad thing either. I'm not saying that it needed a huge budget, but this is one of those cases where they could have taken a smaller budget for this, but again,
I mean, you would think so, but it's like you really just have to sit down and figure out where it went.
I mean, they threw everything out the window, like talking in space. There was even a moment where Captain Marvel, like, she gasped after she loses Monica, in space, and I'm just like,
Well, yeah, don't like.
I know, but I'm saying is that
whenever
nothing like that. Am I going to go back and say because a movie where they do space 100% right is a silent movie in space. Like I think they did they did Serenity that way or Firefly.
I said, didn't you ever watch 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Yeah, it's entertaining for other reasons, and like I said, I'm not going to bash a movie for that. I mean, obviously, but there's a lot of places where some thought in how things were planned out. I mean, a lot of things just didn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. They didn't explain anything, and
What?
but at the same time, I understand this is not meant for people that are going to overanalyze everything. It's meant for everybody, general audiences. Some people just want to sit down for an enjoyable movie, and I think it was fun.
But I am going to overanalyze it.
Overanalyze it, maybe.
Well, okay, so whenever they switch places, they take their clothing, whatever they're holding on to. So why didn't Captain Rainbow take her spacesuit too?
Because I actually have an answer for this. You noticed she was phasing to touch the thing. She wasn't touching the spacesuit. Someone brought that up in another review, so I was paying this extra attention to that scene to try to figure it out. So yeah, then the moment I saw her face in the suit, I go, that's the logic behind it right there. They're not going to say it, but that's it.
That makes a lot of sense.
No, I mean that's a good observation. I didn't even think about that.
Oh no, I saw the same review.
I just wonder also where, like, if they're bringing stuff back and forth, like, does it just say just inherently that it brings everything you're touching and just be even a little more gruesome if it's like, oh, I'm grabbing this person's arm, or you're grabbing their like have them by their shirt, and then their shirt just disappears off their body.
Yeah, I mean that's hard to say.
Because the one I was talking about is like, what happens if like you like grab somebody like a limb and their limb comes with you?
I would think the whole thing would, because I would imagine that like it's the totality of whatever you're grabbing.
Yeah.
Like if I was grabbing this table, is it just going to take the chunks where my hands are, and it's probably going to break the whole table.
You're grabbing your house, and the house just moves with you.
Yeah. Now, Nightcrawler, the way he teleports, though, he can do what you're talking about because he does in the Age of Apocalypse. His version there is a little more ruthless. Like when his first intro, this guy's like poking him in the chest, just grabs his fingers and teleports, and takes his fingers with him. But that's how he kills Deadpool, is he gets him in a headlock and teleports. So, yeah.
Yeah, but his is like makes like because he pulls into a dimension, so
yeah.
So doing that, he would just the dimension wherever it cuts off is going to cut off, which also means he should be bringing like parts of his surroundings with him too, like the floor and the.
No, it's because he gets it's like a gateway. It's not a sphere like the temporal displacement thing in the Terminator, which if you ever noticed, disintegrates everything at the other end. Just creates a sphere where it just melts everything. So
probably a good thing to have.
Well, yeah, it has to. Otherwise, you could phase right into something. Like in Terminator 2, it would have phased into a semi trailer there. Where it cuts it off in the concrete and everything. So.
But again, I don't want anybody to come back and say, "Man, these people are really." No, we're just saying that there's things that people need to think about when they're writing these. But again, like I don't think there was a point where I was just like, "Oh, when's this going to end?" I mean, I thought it was entertaining, kind of almost all the way through. I don't think there was any spot that I was just like.
Yeah, it was a fairly short movie, so. But I'm beginning to believe that there actually is like a lot of movie left somewhere on the cutting room floor for this thing. So.
And I did like the kind of making fun of Nick Fury at the end there with the Avengers Initiative kind of.
Oh yeah,
the Young Avengers Initiative.
Yeah, with our Kate Bishop cameo there and the Cassie Lang name drop. I've already seen people complaining about that too, by the way.
Why?
Because the only 3 members so far are all women. Yeah. And it's like you just got done with this movie that was all 3 female leads and did terrible at the box office.
And again, that in itself is not a point of, because if you write, well, first of all, we were talking about Hawkeye. I thought the show was decent. I like Kate Bishop. I have not seen Ant-Man Quantumanium, so I don't know how Cassie Lane was.
Well, let me know when you watch it.
And Kamala Khan.
She has numerous moments where she's basically insufferable, so.
Well, that's great. Well, Kamala Khan, I was at least.
Kamala Khan is great. She was great, and I like Kate Bishop. It's the Cassie Lang part of the tripod. I'm not too keen on.
Well, that's why we just need to get Yun Kane to come in as Iron Lad.
Yeah, Young Kang.
Well, it can be not not the same actor.
Well, I assume it won't be the same actor. He's supposed to be a teenager, and Jonathan Majors is clearly an adult man.
Um, but no, I mean,
Well, you'd think that, but
overall though, I mean, like I said, I think I was Nick Fury seemed to at least be partially back to where he was at, should be as a character. It didn't seem like he was. I don't know, because watching him in Secret Invasion, what I did watch was it just didn't seem like Nick Fury, really.
Well, okay, so to talk about the rest of Secret Invasion, his problem is he finally ran up against a situation that he had absolutely no control over, no contingency for, no nothing. And it really just rattled him to his core. Because, well, how do you prepare for a mad space god showing up with 6 magic rocks and wiping out half of all life with the snap of his finger, including yourself?
Yeah.
And then you come back 5 years later and just hope that everything didn't fall apart while you were gone, I guess. So, yeah, I could see where that would rattle people. And speaking of, I'm glad that they went into the fact that, Monica's mom did die while she was snapped. And that, well, Captain Marvel there's never really even tried to kind of talk about it or do anything with her about it. And, they finally had it out over that. So.
And rightfully so. Yes, telling a little girl, oh yeah, I'll be back in no time.
And then never coming back.
Well, she did say in no time.
Yeah. Or actually, she did come back just while Monica was gone.
Oh.
It was while she was snapped. Yeah. Because her mom was dying of cancer. So. But yeah, and then, of course, the big spoiler, she winds up apparently in something approximating the X-Men universe. Or it's really close to the universe that they went to in Doctor Strange.
Exact binary there.
Yeah.
Which, the thing is they could have been like, what do you mean that you think I'm your mom? And they're like, oh, obviously she's from a parallel universe.
But
Beast, which was funny, that Beast is like, well, that seems like that's an impossibility.
Now, as an X-Man, he should know damn good and well that's not only possible, it's a definite thing.
It's probably already happened.
Yeah, like Beast is probably in an alternate timeline, doesn't even realize it.
All he needed to do is the right line would have been like, fascinating.
Yeah, or something like that.
And the same thing. They're like, oh, she claimed to be your, that she was your daughter. Well, blood test shows that that's probably a very likely possibility.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I don't expect them to be like, "What's your name?" And she'd tell them their name, and she's like, and at least it wasn't the same binary or whatever from the other universe of the Illuminati.
Yeah, that's why I said it was probably one close to that one because she's still alive here.
Yeah, not
and
crushed,
and so is Charles,
and not crushed by a statue.
Yeah.
And yeah, Charles didn't have his mind destroyed, and
yeah,
Mr. Fantastic didn't get turned into spaghetti.
Hopefully not.
But no, I don't know what I thought so far of Beast CGI, but
yeah, I've got the feeling that was probably a condition from Kelsey Grammer. Probably like, yeah, I'll do it, but like, I'm not going to sit in the chair for makeup for 8 hours for a 5-minute cameo.
Yeah, no, and I get it's a cameo, so I get that they're not going to put the full force of development into it.
Yeah, or it could have been the other way. It could have been that they looked back on the X-Men and thought this looked okay like 20 years ago, but I think we can do a little bit better with CGI. Let's give it a shot.
No.
Results may vary.
But no, it's. I was excited to see the X-Men again.
Well, one of
X-Men.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not X-Man.
So, I do wonder if they're ever going to go forward with bringing Rogue into the equation and having her zap Captain Marvel.
That'd be great if that was like the first villain was Rogue.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's when she fought most of the Avengers to a standstill single-handedly. Because once you know their powers, you just have to know who you have to grab first, and then just start building from there. And she's done it a second time since then. During, I don't remember what the storyline.
To Captain
No,
Marvel.
not to Captain Marvel. Just defeated the Avengers single-handedly. I don't remember what the storyline was right off the top of my head, but like the Avengers weren't 100% certain they could trust some of the X-Men on something, so they were watching them. And I think it's the Avengers versus X-Men storyline. It was the Avengers that weren't with Cyclops, but are the X-Men that weren't with Cyclops, and the Avengers are still kind of like, yeah, I don't know, all those muties kind of throw in together, and Rogue's just kind of like, all right, I've had enough of this, and just dismantles the whole team in a matter of minutes single-handedly. And she's just like, I've done it before, I'll do it again. Like, you know, like if we wanted you dead, I'm the only one we need, and I'm not killing you now, so like, lay off. We're not with Cyclops. Like, you're proving him right by just, oh, these muties. Yes. I'm firmly in the camp Cyclops was right in Avengers vs. X-Men, though, by the way. So, because, yeah, Captain America shows up, give us hope, and he's like, no. And it's like, well, we're going to take her. And he's like, the hell you are. That's when her old Emma Frost is standing there next to him, and he's like, so, Cyclops, there's a cloaked shield helicarrier full of superheroes up there ready to come down here and fight us. Cyclops is like, oh, well, get the hell off my island, Cap, and optic blast right to the shield, knocks him off the island. Then the heroes are a little too gung-ho about going down there and beating up on the mutants. And it's just kind of like, you guys are proving him right. Like, these people have saved the universe a few times, which is probably a few times more than half the heroes on board that jet. Like, what the hell?
Well, at least the one thing they didn't have to explain anything in this movie is the fact, there's always that. Oh, we had this thing happen on Earth. Where were all the other heroes? Well, no, they were off Earth. So,
yeah. Well, I think that the comics, it was easy. It's like, oh, this thing's happening in New York. Well, the Fantastic Four aren't in New York right now. They're in the negative zone. The Avengers are fighting Doom in Latveria. This is so Spider-Man's got to handle it. Daredevil's fighting someone fighting the Hand in the sewers or something. Like, it was easy to explain if you had to. You just had to take it on faith that the other characters are busy.
yes.
The movies, unfortunately, since they present one thread at a time, and we never see, like, the in-between times when they're busy fighting other crap. So then something big comes along, was Thor just like chilling at the mansion, drinking, playing video games again? Like,
Yeah.
Well, where are these people?
It was interesting to see Valkyrie show up. I wasn't expecting that.
No, I was, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, that was Valkyrie. I forgot about her.
Yeah, there's a scene. You can see the scene in the trailer where the Rainbow Bridge connects with the ship, and like, I knew it wasn't gonna be Thor.
I forgot who that was actually.
So, however, that does bring me to a point. If I'm recalling everything correctly, how'd she get the Rainbow Bridge? Because I think the only way to do it now is Stormbreaker. Because what's his name is dead, and they specifically needed Stormbreaker, as I recall, from Thor: Love and Thunder, to do it there. So, if that's the case, why didn't Thor show up?
He was too much of a budget for this movie.
Yeah.
So, anyways, if anybody's, if one thing there is a takeaway from this is that I wouldn't discount the movie as something you shouldn't go watch, because I think if you do, you're not going to be disappointed. Like, overall with the movie, I think it was entertaining enough.
I might caution that you might want to aim for a matinee.
Which, unfortunately, our local theater no longer has a matinee. Even if you go at 2 o'clock, there is no matinee cost.
That's why we got to go on Tuesday for 5 o'clock shows. Speaking of which, Jim, what are you doing Tuesday?
I haven't a clue yet. I've got to talk with the missus first and figure that out.
The only real complaint I had about the movie was at some points Captain Marvel just wasn't as powerful as she should have been.
Well, as you said it, Owen, the best way is her power set was never constant.
Yeah, well, one of the complaints I actually have about her in general is that her power set seems to be really close to her comic counterpart, which makes her just like ludicrously more powerful than everyone else because everyone else has been toned down. Except for Captain America. Captain America is a little closer to like his Ultimates counterpart where he legitimately has like super strength and not just peak human strength. Because like in the Winter Soldier where he's like helicopter one hand, the other like no, the helicopter should torn him in half. Like the helicopter has enough thrust that like the human body cannot handle that. Super no. So he had to be legitimately super strong to achieve that.
Yeah.
So he's one of the few that's above. But like all the others have been toned down.
Speaking of that, I did see a thing where they mentioned that one possibility of when Captain America caught the Infinity Gauntlet with Thanos, since Thanos wasn't using the stones, that him holding onto the glove actually
maybe
there was where they were both, or he was able to at least channel some.
It could be, but remember they specifically made the limitation of he had to actually like close the gauntlet to use the powers of the stones.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe, but it also comes down to like again, Captain America has to be super strong, to do some of the things he does in the movies. But he's still nowhere near like the Hulk or anything like that.
No.
Like even Spider-Man should be stronger than him if he's super strong. Where Spider-Man's stronger than most people give him credit for. I mean, Spider-Man can throw a fire truck.
Well, I just like the fact in Civil War where Captain America, I don't know, even has a clue of what Spider-Man's power sets are and drops an entire walkway onto him.
Well, Captain America's a man of action. He's used to the battlefield where, you step on the battlefield, like, whatever comes your way, it's your fault. So...
Well, anyways, this sounds like a topic for the podcast, so is there any close...
But hold on, but to Owen's point, though, I do agree that, like, there were parts where I feel like Dar-Benn should have easily been defeated.
Well, like, where any power that she was using to fly through all the spacecraft should have flown right through Dar-Benn.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, yeah.
Or any time that Monica Rambeau blasted her or anything. Like, it's one thing whenever she's, like, hitting right on the thing and absorbing it. Okay, fine. But then you, like, shoot with your other hand to, like, some other part of her body and, just burn a hole through her and kill her.
What I'm saying is in Avengers Endgame, you see Captain Marvel, just fly right through Thanos' ship. Why couldn't she have done that through Dar-Benn's ship? Or, as you said, right through Dar-Benn.
Yeah, well, I mean, or at the very least through the ship. So, because, just go through the ship, crash the ship, then what's Dar-Benn going to do? She's stuck on whatever planet, she's doomed. Plus that whole deal with the universal weapon, that kind of implies there's only one, but we definitely saw Ronan's get destroyed. So, I don't know. And to me, it almost came across like the one time she actually used the powers of that thing, it kind of came across like they somehow still believed it had the Power Stone in it. Because she glows purple and she just shattered something with it, like it had the Power Stone in it, when it didn't, because it's gone.
Destroyed.
Yes, deatomized, or atomized, so.
Well, that should be the Universal Weapon Part 2.
Yeah, the universaler weapon, more universal weapon.
The universal.
The multiversal weapon. There we go. Although, the stones will eventually reform, so. At least their comic counterparts do. Because they can't not exist. So, fundamental forces of the universe and all that. But yeah, that's a good point, Owen. Like, they should have just, like, flown right through Dar-Benn. Or Photon should have, like, phased into her. They should have also actually called her Photon at some point. As her code name. When it wasn't Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. One of the two in the comics, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I know is we got a pretty sweet Monica Rambeau figure, like her from the 70s, though. It's a white outfit with like the kind of the wing things like Storm has.
Well, she had that for a moment.
And the big hair, the big afro.
Yeah, she had that for a moment in the movie.
Yeah, where was that? Like towards the end?
No, because you stepped out because they were showing like their.
Oh.
Because they were like
for the big dance number.
Because afterwards they're like, hey, can you get it? That's where they got their outfits from. Was from that planet. And she was like, I don't know about this cape. And she tears it off and throws it on the ground.
Man. Can't believe I missed that. That sucks. I'm not going to rewatch it. I'll watch it on Disney Plus. But
So, would you say at least it's worth a watch?
oh yeah, I think it's worth a watch. I see where a lot of the criticism's coming from. I just don't agree with all of it. But at the same time, it's not the greatest movie ever. This is definitely not shilling for Disney hour here. It's got problems. You know, we've talked about several of them.
Well, you've seen Quantumanium. Is it better than Quantumanium? Manium.
So there's a fair chance it is.
Okay.
A fair chance.
So,
well, I mean, Quantumania is not great either, but neither of these two movies are down to like Thor: Love and Thunder level bad. Okay, so
which I still haven't seen.
so that's something. Okay, and even before Thor: Love and Thunder, I probably wouldn't say either one was worse than Thor: The Dark World, which was my go-to for bad MCU movies. So I think this one's better than Captain Marvel, which again isn't saying much. I didn't super care for Captain Marvel, but yeah. So it's worth a watch. Yeah.
All right, Owen, would you recommend it?
Yeah, it was worth the watch.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to come out of the theater going, man, I just wasted money on it. But at the same time, like I said, it's got its flaws, it's got whatever. But I was entertained from the beginning to end. I don't think any one thing was, bad enough to give it, Though I did look on Rotten Tomatoes and it had an 86% audience score, which doesn't.
Well, I mean, think about it. If low box office, who's going to be going to watch it? People that want to see it.
Yes.
You know, so it's like when they take polls from like the Thursday preview shows, they're always high. Well, who goes to watch it on Thursday? Someone's excited to go see it. If someone's sitting like, I don't know, they're not going to go on Thursday night.
Yeah, and I think
they're going to go Saturday.
And I think for most people that don't go into as much as what can be done, what can't be done, I think it's an entertaining movie. I mean, anyways, I think that is all that we have. My youngest is asking if we're done down here, which I believe that we are.
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, I recommend it, but I'd probably go for matinee.
So, definitely let us know what you thought about our review or the movie itself. Either one, and let us know down in the comments down below. And remember, to definitely like, share, and subscribe if you like what you're seeing here. And yeah. I don't have anything else. I don't know any Captain Marvel way of outroing it.
Well, it's not a Captain Marvel thing. It's Marvel in general. It's make mine Marvel. You ever heard that?
No.
That's a Stan Lee thing from the comics.
Excelsior.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.